Last minute chores.
Yeah. Try to leave a few things so I don't have nothing to do. It's harder when you have nothing to do than you second guess what you forgot. Where do you want me?
All right, Pete. We always start with the same thing. Which one? Oh, how many is this for Cusco 300s for you?
I think it's 16 now.
16. And I always do the same thing. I think of things to talk about on our way over because we only really talk to each other, this time of year. How old were you when you did your first one?
2009, so 20, 19.
So were you in the age that these younger guys, like Raymond and Jason, were you in that kind of age group?
Yeah, what is Raymond, 19 or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, right in there.
So I was just thinking as we were coming over, about how, when you started, who was the guys that were about your age? Was that be Tomas and that group, or?
Probably like guys like Aaron Burmeister and Ramey Smith.
Yeah. So when you were, and did you call him and ask him questions and stuff in those days, or did you have a relationship with him?
Ed Eaton a lot, but he was a little older than them, I guess, at that point. But
so I was just thinking about how that everything has changed over the years. There's babies and then kids and then they grow up and all that stuff, and how this is kind of a circle, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a new generation now. It really feels like it was just a couple of years ago that I was running my first and felt like me and Richie were kind of the new young guys on the scene, and now we're officially middle-aged and been at it a while, and now it's nice to see this new crop of young guys come in, and it kind of reminds me of when me and Mike Jr. and Richie kind of first started racing the K300 15 years ago or so, and now you got Raymond and Jason, and there's a few other up-and-comers that'll probably be in the Cusco in the next few years.
Yeah, they're doing good.
Very good.
Myron was really proud last night of Raymond. How does that make you feel?
It's great. I mean, that's what you really want to see ultimately. I think the whole goal behind the K300 organization is to create and bring up new young talent from the area, from the region, through our racing system that starts off with the shorter distance races, and you can kind of work your way up through the system and eventually run the K300, and then maybe Iditarod someday. But that's exactly what we want to see happen. We love teams coming in from outside, and we love having all the best competition and sharing our race with teams from outside, but we also want to create and help bring up new talent, locally grown new talent, and so that's exciting when you have the new local talent mixed in with outside talent. I think that makes for the most exciting type of racing.
Well, and this is a really broad range of experience in this race. Is there any other Iditarod champs besides you and Ryan? I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
But either way, that you have high echelon Iditarod folks, and then you have Raymond and Jason who've come up from the beginning, and they're doing well.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not to be. For me, it was really cool to see Jason come back, because sometimes you get a one-off and they go, oh, that's too much for me, but he's back. And so it's really fun as a spectator to have seen that. And what's interesting to me, having predated you to some extent, is that now you're saying we. It's your race and bringing the young people in. So that was kind of Myron's thing. So it's really fun to see that. Tell me about your team this year.
Oh, a lot of the same dogs as last year. Last year, a lot of 2- and 3-year-olds. Those dogs are 3 and 4 now, along with a few older, like 6-year-old dogs. But it's the majority of the team's 3 and 4. So pretty young yet, but very experienced because they all raced last year, either in the Cusco or the Iditarod or both. So they're kind of young in age, but they've got a couple years of experienced racing under their belt. So it's a fun team. They're quite good.
We've had quite the interesting. Well, we always have an interesting weather deal. Tell us about the training.
Yeah, it's very typical of a normal year with lots of ups and downs, and you kind of just got to learn to ride the wave. We've had stretches of fine training and then stretches of not so great, and I've just learned over the years you kind of just got to go with the flow, and you just kind of train as much as you can when the weather allows and the trails allow, and then there's going to be times where the weather's going to kind of fight back, and you're going to have to just kind of sit around and wait it out at times. So that's kind of how our training has always worked out for many years now. We go when we can and we sit when we can't, and it seems like it's frustrating at times, but it seems like in the end it usually works out. But yeah, you don't want to waste too many good days around here because eventually you're going to get a few bad ones.
Well, and this is this your second or third year of not having a real employer? You're on your own fully. This is just life. How many years have you done this?
Oh, 4 now, maybe.
4, yeah.
Something like that.
How has that changed your training program?
It hasn't really. It's just given me a little more flexibility in the summer with a different work schedule and kind of being my own boss throughout the summer. Training-wise, it hasn't changed a whole lot. I mean, we still start, about the same time we always started in mid-August, and so yeah, it hasn't. I guess it hasn't changed a whole lot. There's probably some stresses that have relieved themselves a little, and then others that have picked up a little bit. It's just kind of a trade-off, But
you like this better?
It balances my life out better. I've got between having a family and dogs, and then trying to make a living outside of dogs in the summer. It just it's very busy, and you trying to balance equal amounts of times between the family, the dogs, and work. And my life's more balanced now. So very busy still. It's just balanced out a little better.
Yeah, nice. How many miles? Well, let's talk about miles in general. How are miles? When you think of your training, are miles the total deal?
I don't think I don't really go off total miles. I keep track and I kind of know where I'm at, but it's not like I'm striving for a certain goal because, like I said, the weather around here is so up and down. One year I might have X amount of miles. The next year I might have, several hundred less, several hundred more. It just kind of depends. So we just basically, our motto is just to do the best we can with what we're handed in training, and that's what we get. So it's hard to really set like a hard goal on where we want to be mileage wise, because more often than not you're probably going to be disappointed just because of the setbacks with weather and training. So I try not to pay too much attention to that. I kind of just gauge the dogs with how they look throughout the season, and we kind of get what we get. We do the absolute most that we can do when the weather allows, and like I said, then there's times where we're sitting on our hands for extended periods of time waiting it out. So every year it kind of seems to average out in the end and work out okay.
So one thing we've never talked about before either is a training day. So when do you start? I mean, what's a training day look like for Team Kaiser? You getting up early, or?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the time of year. We start in early mid-August, and that's running multiple teams a day, usually in the morning before it gets too warm out. 2 mile, 3 mile runs on the tundra. We just work our way up through the season. Usually early in the season I'm running a group of young dogs, yearlings, mixed in with the main team, so it's a pretty big group. I think I was training 31 dogs by myself all fall, which means 2 teams most days. And once you get up into that 20-30 mile range, that makes for a pretty long day.
So 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 at night?
Yeah, no, we live in a residential area, so I try to be as what's the right word? As sensitive
friendly,
as I can to neighbors and the chaos that ensues when you go out to hook up a team at 5 in the morning. So I try to give the neighbors a few extra hours of sleep, and I'm around in the mornings for the kids when they get up and get ready for school and stuff like that. And then usually once we get them out the door, it's head out into the dog yard and get the dogs fed. It's a long process when you're doing everything by yourself, to go feed and clean the yard, and then get the harnesses and booties out and everything. It's like I've kind of likened it to like if every morning you had to go, you got up to go to work, your truck was dead, and you had to work on your truck for 3 hours just to get to work. That's basically how it is getting a dog team ready to go on a run every day. You basically have to go work on your truck for 3 hours in the cold every morning before you actually pop the hook and leave on a run, and then you're out on the runners for most of the day. So, and then that with, limited amounts of daylight in November and December make for, even if it's not a super long day, it feels like a long day because you start in the dark and you end in the dark. And
well, then you get home and you got to feed, and so when you getting done.
Yeah, if I get home in the evening and we get the dogs put away and give them a snack, and then get all the gear put away, get inside, eat dinner, spend some time with the family. It's usually back out into the dog yard at 7, 8 o'clock at night to feed them dinner, prep food for the next day, another round through the dog yard to clean up the yard again, and just any other miscellaneous stuff that I need to make sure is ready for the next day. So I mean, most days, I'm not done till 9, 10 o'clock, sometimes later.
Yeah, the platform thing you've had 3 or 4 years now, that's been pretty positive for the dog yard.
The dog decks, yeah. In summertime especially, they're great. All the mud is no mud issues. All the water drains through the decks, and it's a very clean setup.
So talk about this year's race. I mean, or this year's trail and setup and the whole thing. You've got a pretty icy trail from what you hear.
I think it's not going to be as icy as the first 20 miles. Pretty icy, and then it's better the further we go upriver. We had enough snow in December that when we had this last meltdown, it melted it down a fair amount, but there's still snow on the river. It's kind of got a crust on top of it, so it's very hard and fast, but it has more grip than just like a glare ice trail. So I think it's going to be decent for
fast trail.
Very fast. Yeah, I think it's going to be fast, with the exception of maybe some bare tundra going around Whitefish that might be a little slower. But I think the river sections are going to be very fast.
Talk about the folks that we're competing against here. Mm-hmm. You got a pretty varied group here. Who's out here that you're interested in?
I mean, anybody can win. There's plenty of teams that can win, and you can have even some surprise winners. It's happened before. I would never count out anybody who's won it before. So, Richie and Matt and Ramey Smith's won it before. So you got to kind of always count in those guys, and then some of these other guys from out of town. Ryan, of course, is very talented and coming off a big Iditarod win, and then you got Raymond and Jason, and there's even Father Larson had a great race a few years ago. He's capable of being right up there. So I mean, who knows? That's why we show up and race, because we don't know. If we knew what the order was going to be, we just hand out paychecks.
Well, and doesn't that make a lot of fun? I mean, you have a really good group. Mm-hmm. It looks to be a really cool group of teams with a lot of experience. I mean, talking Ramey, I don't know when his first race was. It was a long time ago.
Yep.
And so yeah, I know for the fans it's going to be really exciting.
Yep.
The weather. What are you expecting?
It's going to be chilly, but I actually thought it was going to be colder with the wind. A few days ago, the forecast was showing more wind for today through late tonight, and so I thought we were going to have worse wind chills at the start tonight and for the first 100 miles up the river, but that's kind of subsided a bit. So it's going to be cold. It looks like maybe probably 30 below in Antioch, maybe even colder down on the river. But the winds have lessened, and that's usually the worst part of it, when you get the winds mixed with that. But it's still going to be cold. But I'm glad the winds have slowed down a little bit.
Well, for me, I mean, I only got to be there a half hour or so, and I'm thinking, oh man, how do you mentally prepare for those kind of temperatures? Or are you just so experienced? It's like, all right, we done this, we know what we're doing.
Yeah, you just try to dress right. I mean, if you're dressed right, it's tolerable. You know, it's still, you know, you're standing there for 10 hours going to Calskeg, so it's kind of boring and gets a little chilly, but you know, you can move around a little bit on the runners, and you just got to be dressed right. If you're not dressed right, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but if you're dressed right, it's tolerable.
So I never asked you this question. What are you listening to?
Probably, I don't know. Right now, the trail is so noisy with your drag mat into the ice. It sounds like a jet taking off under your feet. So
you're not listening to music?
I mean, if I do, I'm going to not be able to listen to it very well. My new Apple Watch has been telling me I'm in a noisy environment lately while I'm running dogs. It's that loud with the snow machine studs digging into the ice. Because you're trying to slow the team down. So yeah. If I am listening to this, it's just random shuffle songs, nothing in particular.
So Pete, we're none of this happens in the void. So you've got a great group of supporters. Why don't you talk about those briefly?
Yeah, we've been lucky for many years now to be supported by a lot of the same our major sponsors. Ryanair's been with us as one of our original sponsors when we ran our first Iditarod in Cusco back in 2009 and 2010. Lee and Boyack Ryan are family friends and just great people, and have always supported us. So thank you to Ryanair again for all their support. And then Northern Air Cargo has been a big help for quite a few years now, helping ship stuff back and forth between Anchorage and Bethel. That's huge. Like some people don't know, but everything has to be flown out to Bethel. There's no roads, so dog food by the thousands and thousands of pounds is shipped out, and NAC helps out with a lot of that type of stuff, along with shipping dogs into Anchorage for the race and all those logistics. So big shout out and thank you to them. Linden and Knick Construction, my former employer, and still friends with some of those guys there, and they're helping out again this year. They do a lot of work in this Bethel area and region. Knick in particular has been based out here since like 1979 or something. They build roads and runways, and I worked for them for 12 or 13 years. So great group of people and great company, and happy to have them on board. And then Donlin Gold, our main sponsor here for quite a few years now, have been a huge part of our success, and great support system, and appreciate everything they've done to help us out and keep us moving down the trail.
Good. Just one question. This is part of the sponsor thing, but how many pounds of dog food do you go through for a year?
Oh boy, I've never calculated it out to
tons, right?
In pounds. I know what it is in dollars. I won't even go there, but yeah, I mean, we're going through in the winter we're going through 2,000 pounds a month easily. It's just an ungodly amount of food to keep.
And that's just dry food.
No, that's meat.
Meat
fat,
also, okay.
Kibble, yeah. I mean, they're eating pretty well. Another sponsor that I didn't mention there, Drew's Foundation, Paul O'Brien and his family, have been huge supporters for quite a few years now. They lost their son, who was my friend, tragically to suicide several years ago, and he started Drew's Foundation. And we've kind of been teamed up for a few years, kind of spreading the word of suicide prevention and not giving up on life. And so I want to thank Paul and his family for being supportive of my racing efforts. And yeah.
Well, good luck on the trail.
Thank you.